Hello there, GM Lurchington here with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station. With me as usual are our players and their characters. The Bendu as Narset Jinn.
Hello again, friends.
Dan as Captain Worm of Ithor.
Hey, everybody.
David as Master Zavik Silverstar.
Yeah.
And, as always, our host Kyle as Zeke.
Hello there.
Gentlemen, if you're ready to see if the Force is with us, let's roll Destiny and begin. Dark side.
Let's give me one of those.
Zavix gets his credit infusion. Light side.
Master Silverstar collects his welfare check. Come on, phone, cooperate.
A double light from Narset Jinn. What do we got, Z? 3 lights and 2 dark.
All right. Better than I thought it was going to be.
Exactly. We are beginning back on slide 47 in the tribal village where Narset Jinn had emerged from the waters after making what turns out to be day-long trip as you arrive now in the evening. The Sauvax themselves in the village hadn't made much ceremony of it, so Kintera hadn't known to come and meet you as you came out, but as you approach the village there, you see that she and the 2 Sherpas are coming over to you. She seems very relieved that you are, back safely, certainly. You have your new staff with you, and she comes over, but she'll let you get the first word in. And she's got the 2 Sherpas with her. There they are.
Have you picked up any Sauvax? Can you, click at the Sauvaxes to, impress
She can
Kintera?
understand what they are saying now without need of translating, and they can all understand what she's saying. Maybe not the ones in this village, but the Sherpas could. But she can now.
I just meant it as a cultural flex. Can she replicate their sounds just in front of Kintera to show that she can, kind of thing?
That's for Narset to determine. Yeah.
I was just hoping for the physical prestige of them seeing me having the same staff that the shaman has.
The villagers that
understand language.
The villagers that notice you come up.
I can just now understand what they're.
Right.
You can now understand Sauvax when it is spoken to you without need of a translator, and all of the Sauvax, at least from, the other side of the island, understand spoken Basic and Huttese, so you don't need to be able to speak Sauvax yourself. Kintera can speak a little of it, and if you wanted to make a lore or survival check to see if you've picked up, some by this point, you certainly could. Otherwise, it's up to you to determine whether you want to or not. But you can speak to the Sherpas and the shaman directly, and the Sherpas can translate for you, to any Sauvax that can't understand, the common galactic languages.
Mm-hmm.
Which this village is at least, off the beaten path enough that might be a case. But the villagers who didn't come down to the shore to make any, big to-do of your arrival do certainly seem to notice that you've got, a staff that indicates that you've made the first stages of the climb, and they're all taking notice of it, sort of. But they're not, approaching to interrupt because you're outsiders and you're, your companion and your, guides are coming over to you already. They'll get the gossip from your Sherpas.
And I forget, it's still the nighttime, right? It's
evening. It's not tomorrow yet, but,
it's past dusk.
You've got time for this scene, and then we'll roll into, it'll be tomorrow by next session.
So then Narset just casually, since she notices Kintera and the other Sherpas walking towards her, she sort of smiles and sort of perks up and then starts to walk towards the rest of the group.
Kintera says that she's glad to see that you're back safely, and says you were gone all day. How deep did you go? Was it dangerous? She's checking you out to make sure that you're actually all right too, and she has your big coat, but to put on the big fur coat.
Right. So Narset I guess, reaches over for the jacket to rebundle.
She must have been
And
carrying
then,
it all day because she didn't go back to the crab for it, to the walker.
okay. So then Narset then looks over to Kintera and gleefully thanks her for holding on to her jacket for her, since it's now in a better position to try to put it back on and stay warm. And then looks back to the darkness of the water and then back over to her and says that it could have been more dangerous than it was, but thankfully we were okay. But it got pretty dark down there.
The older Sherpa, the one who doesn't use any of the high-tech stuff, is like leaning in and like looking at you very intently, and he's looking at the staff, and he's nodding approvingly, and he's like nudges the younger one and shows him one of his spears, and you notice that the shaft of the spear that he has are made of the same material, and he's like, comparing it to the like the high-tech spear with the integrated like blaster, rifle that like the younger Sherpa has, and they're conversing in their language, about. He's like, see, this is what I'm talking about.
Nice.
Yeah, Narset then looks again to Kintera and says, "No, I definitely culturally learned a lot. I would love to share with you and sort of mull over the thoughts that I have at the moment. I'd be happy to hear about what your discoveries of the day have been. By the way, do you happen to have a fusion cutter?"
Just by the way.
She thinks about it. If you want to flip a destiny point, you can make a check that'll see if she has it. I will see what the rarity of a fusion cutter is.
Flip a destiny.
I flip it.
I mean, it's a very common thing. You flipped a destiny point, she goes, yeah, to do maintenance on the walker. Why?
I just wanted to kind of carve down this staff a little bit more, make it more handheld. Bit bulky and sharp in some spots. I was hoping to, whittle it down a little bit.
She leans into inspect your rod, and then goes, what is this? Petrified coral or volcanic stone or?
I think it's volcanic stone. I pulled
Seabed?
it out of one of the volcanic vents at the very bottoms of the ocean. Gave my lightsaber a pretty hard time to cut through, so whatever alloy that's made out of would be nice to hold on to, I think. Plus, who knows what sort of prestige it'll give us with the rest of the Sauvax.
Surprising you should say that. The older Sherpa at this point can't resist joining the conversation. And he brings the younger Sherpa over and he goes, he's clacking, and you understand that he's saying, see, I did tell you that she made the climb. He turns to Kintera and bows and says, I apologize. I must break our contract and Crab Drogo's word, but I must stay here with the young one. You must make the climb while we were here. He turns back to Kintera and says, you will have to tell Crab Drogo that we will return as soon as we can. Crabs from this village will see you to the top of the mountain through the danger in our stead. I'm sure they'll do that for us. He turns to the younger crab and he says, see, while we were here, I can teach you what Crab Drogo won't. Though our story ends differently than theirs, the beginning is the same. And he
I understand.
Takes the younger Sherpa off to go and discuss with some of the villagers here if they will see Kintera back through the glacier field at the top of the island past the monsters on her way out. Because while he's here with the youngster, he's going to stay and, take him on the same, quest that you just did sort of thing. Because they're back here in the homeland.
He's not going to let some air breather show up the younger Selvac of no. She did what you're refusing to do,
It's the last straw
for
for
no
him.
reason whatsoever. I'm gonna take your ass down there, and you're gonna learn the history. If she can do it, you can do it. And that means that they now have to stay there at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fair
But
enough, you know.
he's gonna get some crabs from here to accompany
We can't
Pantera
let
back.
this air breather show you up on our own cultural front.
Maybe a little bit of that. Maybe a little bit of that, you know, but maybe he's always stuck to the more traditional way anyway. So, you know, he might want to just take this up. I think he would take this opportunity whether you had done it or not. But definitely now, you know. It was inspiring, you know, whatever flavor you want to put on that. Pantera wants to get you back into the walker, where it is significantly warmer.
Yeah, because now it's like, you know, sundown and shit.
Yeah. It's
legit ass night
freezing
time.
down
Temperatures
here.
are dropping fast.
Exactly. So she gets you back to the walker, and starts looking for something that you can change into that wasn't down to the bottom of the ocean, and says that with the help of the Sherpas and the fact that you had gone on a trip with the shaman, she was able to talk to the Sauvax here, and it confirmed a lot of what Crab Drogo had said back in Crabtown about the beginnings of their story. With the longevity of the species, she's not terribly surprised that their oral tradition, like it pretty lines up, like with how things, you know, appear to be, but like they all also live for hundreds and hundreds of years, so there's not too much time for cultural drift, like in that sense of it. But she wants to hear what you have to say because you actually like got to go down there, and she wants to know, like, so is the story that Crab Drogo told us accurate? You know, how does the story that they tell here line up with what he had to say about, you know, the beginnings of the climb, you know, because tomorrow you're going to start climbing up the mountain to, you know, see what they say the, you know, end of it is supposed to be, which Crab Drogo, you know, won't say. His version of it doesn't line up with theirs.
For the most part, it lines up. I think at the end of all this, it's going to end up being us having to convince Crab Drogo to come back here in a large ship and convince the rest of these Sauvax that he is their new cultural Sauvax, the champion, here to show them the next part of the climb.
The Messiah.
I haven't put all the pieces 100% together yet. Khal Drogo didn't. The way that he said the word Sauvax, the way he was telling the story made it sound like the group, the race altogether. But the way that the shaman was talking about it was this integral, one evolved Sauvax with an X who helped the Sauvax race with like a, you know, CS out of the shit up to the shit. I think we're gonna have Crab Drogo fight the creature that we met in the volcano. Word vomit.
She seems that this is a bold plan. She goes, usually I
bold claim
cultures. I don't. Right. She goes, generally as
back your
a xenoanthropologist, I study the cultures I encounter. I don't involve myself in the actualization of the next stage of their development. She goes, but I suppose that is part of a Jedi's job description?
The reason why these older crabs don't want to leave is because they're still waiting for this singular evolved Sauvax to come back. Obviously, this original Sauvax has been long dead. So they need a current, still alive Sauvac crab to come from Crabtown over to here, show that they succeeded, and then be like, this is gonna be the next step of the climb. If I can do it, you all can do it. But that original crab had not come back because obviously he died in space or died in doing whatever the fuck.
They need a new
never
prophet.
Able to come back. So yeah, they need a new prophet.
She doesn't disagree. She does not disagree with the logic or with the fact that it lines up with their current culture myth. She is opposed to the fact that as a historian and scholar, she is more of an observer of these things in the culture she encounters. She is not generally the one who is like directly putting a hand in, being like, oh yeah, I see the fact that their story repeats and I'm going to make the next cycle of it happen. So that's where she's opposed, but she understands that you as a Jedi might feel that that is your mandate, but you're going to have to convince her.
I was going to say,
that, she's not going to default to backing you, because instead she wants to write a paper about this,
right,
and not be like, and then we decided to do this because we came from outside and decided we saw how their culture worked and we were going to make it do it again while we're here.
Not necessarily. I was gonna say, so like
she's got some Prime Directive stuff going on.
Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a leadership check that I have to make?
You can make it a leadership check.
Look.
You could totally make it a leadership check.
Yeah, inspire her. You know.
Yeah.
You're a history buff, so.
Also, you had a vision about the fact that Jedi were here and were involved in this before that you might or might, like, you've told her a little bit about, but you can use that as part of, be like, we're already part of this problem anyway. You know, we don't know what happened when, you know, the Jedi were here before that might have, like, you can involve that too. You know what I mean?
You're a I was gonna say, like, you're a historian. You're a historian and like a documentarian. Who better person to document what is happening historically than the person who is living through it? You Kintera.
That's a charm check.
Can't fuck up what you're. You can't fuck up what you're living through.
That's a charm check or a leadership check. Either one that you want to make.
They're both green.
If you want to do, if you do want to do something with leadership, hit her with something like the Sauvax's development has already been shaped by this man-made factory that was put here. So, like, you know, don't you want to have a chance to maybe, like, help fix a mistake made by other intrusive people in this culture? Like, you could be part of their positive history.
All right, so you could add a blue.
If Sauvax Silver Star's race is as lucrative and as successful as everyone is hoping it to be, that means there's going to be a lot more traffic, a lot more starships, which means Crab Drogo could get a big-ass starship, take the rest of the Sauvax off to their next part of the climb. He needs a big-ass spaceship, and then he needs to show up at the old village and be like, hey, man, I got this big-ass spaceship. Want to come?
Hey, man.
And that's exactly how it'll go down, too. You know, with die rolls.
Hey, man.
Okay, so you can have two blue dice. You can have two boosts. One, because the Jedi already meddled in this, and two, because of the other stuff that you guys said. So it'll be your die pool plus those two boosts against a red and two purple, because she's got some Prime Directive stuff
Dr.
about
Afra.
this. You know what I mean? Yeah, like she is
Lord.
serious about her job. You know,
Doc Brown. She's Doc Brown. She's like, don't fuck with the timeline, man.
Yeah.
Don't talk to your past self.
Or at least,
right?
If you're gonna sell her on this, try to do it after you've made the whole climb and you have the whole story. You know what I mean? She's like, we only know half the story anyway. But she is, for the moment at least, willing to consider your suggestion. She's like, it does make sense though, and if things are as tightly cyclical as they are here, then perhaps. She goes,
the universe works, man.
She goes, I suppose we'll know when you make it to the top of the volcano and we find out what the shaman here considers the last stage of his climb to be. Because she goes, I can't believe I'm saying this, but yeah, you just might be right about this. You know, she doesn't want to admit that, like, yeah, it's just as simple as, like, doing the thing that seems obvious, because, like, she's supposed to come do her job. You're not supposed to be like, no, and then I sweep in and fix it, right? That's the way the galaxy works. Is that, yes, there are problems, then a magic
still doing her
comes
job.
in, fixes it.
She's still totally doing her
Right?
job.
She's like, I'm going to document this. I'm going to document this, though, so that if in another 250 years the Sauvax have another problem, at least this time, the people who are trying to solve it have something to go off of. And she goes back to entering everything that you guys have conversed about today into her data pad. She grills you thoroughly and long into the evening about every meter of the climb that you're willing to divulge in as much detail.
I was gonna say, does she have the fusion cutter?
She does have the fusion cutter, so you can try to make
sharpening.
You want to make a mechanics check to try to, I mean, if you're not actually trying to get any mechanical advantage out of the weapon and it's just a narrative thing, then you don't have to make any roll to do it. You know what I mean? Because the last time we made you do that, you jacked up your arm.
It's just to clean it up to make it more of an actual stick than like a jagged.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thing.
You can do.
I'd say it's just narrative.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just work on that. Smoothing it down and stuff.
It's not like I'm editing armor or like trying.
There's no stat change. It's just cosmetic, so you should be fine.
You're not trying to mechanically in-game make it any better.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no.
I do want to keep the shards. I do want to keep the shards though. So is that still a narrative thing?
No.
Because then if I put the shards onto a light later,
like mechanic, like trying to add damage or something. You're not trying to like improve it.
Cool.
Game mechanic wise.
Yeah, so and narratively,
it would be a mechanics check to add the glass shards to my lightsaber.
Bendu, I have an entire set of Excel spreadsheets just about lightsaber building and modifying and attaching.
Whole PowerPoint.
Yeah, you can do so many things to lightsabers in this game, or to any piece of gear that you want. Yeah, it's any kind of I saw this or read this in a book. You can do it.
I'll wait to do that mechanics check when I touch bases with Sauvax. Because Dan reminded me that Sauvax also bought armor or something, or he bought belt pouches. So I know he got stuff that I still need to look at. Yeah,
he's got all kinds of stuff.
A little bit of a mistake in that buy. That I thought it was going to allow me to draw something out that was size 1 as an example, and instead it did not do that.
Yeah, so if you want to refund those, you can.
You still got the stim packs and stuff. So,
yeah, the stim packs it's all useful.
Pouches hard to pick
a bad thing. It's just not what you think it is.
It's like just somewhat unintended. Yeah.
Like, pop.
You need quick draw to do that instead.
Quick draw. Yeah.
That's what improved quick draw is for. You can draw 2 things a turn with improved quick draw, including grenades and stuff like that. But yeah, not from the pouches. It would break the game because they're so cheap. All right, so that's it, Narset. She's going to quiz you on everything to fill her data pads while you work, until your evening draws to a close.
And then until the next morning, and then
which will be another session after, and your strain will be refreshed and everything. Yep, we're going to pull the camera away though, as Quintera is continuing to, question you, and while you're working.